So today we're going to trace the deeply allegorical journey of Salvio Pellido, also known as the Uncanny Wanderer. Now, his story isn't one of growth or redemption in the way you might think. It's this grueling ascent that's actually, in truth, a profound descent, a purposeful, systematic journey toward annihilation. So let's dive in. See, this whole narrative is built around this core concept, the inverted hero's journey. Unlike a classic hero who overcomes challenges to become a better person, Salvio's whole quest is to dismantle himself and, well, the world around him. His climb is, paradoxically, a going under, a total dissolution of the self. It's a fascinating and, let's be honest, a pretty terrifying idea. We're going to explore his transformation through these 6 parables. Each one is a crucial step on his path, from a man who promised safety to an agent of absolute decay. We'll chart his course right from the cage, across that trail of rusted footprints, and straight into his final confrontation with the shadow. All right, our story kicks off with the first parable, and it all starts with an act of abandonment. To even begin his ascent, Salvio Pellido has to leave something behind, this stagnant sanctuary that's just described as the gilded cage, a place of comfort that he himself built. And this right here shows you the fundamental clash within him. In his past, Salvio was the pale redeemer, basically the high priest of comfort. It was at a dark pond where he confessed his greatest sin, promising people they would never fail, but only if they never even tried. But now, he's completely shed that identity. He's become the violet adversary, draped in this parasitic royal mantle and fueled by a spirit of contempt for the very safety he used to sell. And look, he's not just some angry or nihilistic guy. He is systematic. His whole goal is to actively neutralize what's called the spirit of becoming, the very engine of growth, of creativity, of evolution. He's literally waging a metaphysical war on potential itself. Okay, so in the second parable, this metaphysical war starts to get, well, physical. His journey isn't just in his head. It has this profound and corrosive weight to it, and every single step he takes leaves a scar on the world. This image of the rusted footprint, it's just so powerful. This isn't a temporary mark in the dirt, It's a permanent stain of corrosion. His progress is literally a form of decay, a testament to this annihilating presence just scarring the world as he moves through it. So what's he carrying on this climb? It's not supplies or equipment, it's burdens. He's carrying the metaphysical chill of the great evening, this sense of cosmic finality. He carries his contempt like a flickering torch, really his only source of light. He's carrying the collective long-tiredness of an entire civilization, and it's so heavy it's become a physical weight trying to pull him down. And of course, he's carrying the memory of that sin he confessed back at the pond. All right, we're at the third parable now, and this is a huge turning point. As Salvio keeps climbing, the air starts to shimmer, and 2 ancient, honestly, terrifying entities appear before him in phantasm form. But they're not here to be fought. They're judges, and they're here to clarify his mission. So these are the judges of what's called the Red Chapter. You've got the Red Spectre, who basically embodies the necessary end of all human achievement. Its very presence validates the destruction that's coming for a stagnant world. And then you have the Shadow Reaper, who's like the kinetic force of negation itself, here to reap the fields of vanity that Salvio once so carefully helped everyone grow. And you gotta understand, this isn't a test he has to pass to keep going. It's more like a job interview. The phantasms aren't there to stop him. They're there to confirm his role, to refine his focus, and to make absolutely sure he understands the devastating nature of the job he signed up for. Which brings us right to our fourth parable, the interrogation. This is where the phantasms basically hold up a mirror to Salvio, forcing him to look at the hollow core of his own philosophy and the absolute corruption of his own soul. The Shadow Reaper kicks things off, and its voice is just like that freezing mountain wind. See, Salvio used cynicism as a weapon against others, teaching them to doubt themselves. But the Reaper is asking, do you really think that same weapon won't consume you? It's a direct challenge, right? Can you really play with the void without becoming it? Then, the Red Spectre jumps in, attacking his whole contempt for striving. Salvio's old philosophy taught that the struggle and the pain of creation were just flaws to be avoided. But the Spectre flips it on him. Is this agony really a bug, or is it an essential, non-negotiable feature of the very system you think you've figured out? And then, man, this is the final blow.
His gospel of the belly, this philosophy of just being comfortable and satisfied, is laid totally bare. The phantasms ask if that empty ideology is enough for a soul that now sees its own corruption. For a guy who spent his life blunting other people's potential, only to realize he's the fundamental bug himself. And Salvio, he's got nothing to say.
So now that he's been completely broken down, the phantasms reveal his true destiny in our fifth parable. And look, this isn't just about dying. It's about undergoing a complete and total dissolution they call Untergang. Untergang, or going under, is a complete erasure of the self. It's about shedding everything. Every performance, every lie, every mask that people use to hide from the overwhelming, chaotic truth of existence, what they call the fractal infinite. It's a descent straight into the absolute static truth of the void. So this is basically his new job description as the redeemed judge. His task? First, tally up every human achievement and mark it all as useless dross on a final ledger. Second, deliver the final verdict that existence itself is a crime. Third, become the indispensable shadow that tracks life until darkness wins. And finally, his purpose is to serve as the terminal test, a force so absolute it will either destroy the weak or force the birth of something new, an overman. And then the phantasms show him one last thing. This vision they call the logic of zero. It's the ultimate endpoint of his entire philosophy, a state where all human actions, love, art, history, all of it just equals a meaningless void, where his own rusted footprints are the only thing left of a civilization that traded life for a will to nap. A perfect and final zero. And that brings us to our sixth and final parable. Salvio accepts his role. He completely internalizes this logic of zero, and he takes his final steps toward the peaks. No longer a man, just a living, breathing instrument of the end. I mean, his transformation is just absolute. The 7 seals of who he used to be, the Pale Redeemer, the Court Jester, the Priest of Safety, they all just melt away. He's left totally exposed, stripped of all identity, finally seeing himself as just a fleeting accident in a cold universe. And this is his final form, really. He isn't on a quest anymore. He is the prophecy. He walks toward the highest peaks, where other entities are waiting not to cause the end, but simply to be its official witness, watching as the sun of civilization sets for the very last time. And all of this really brings us to the core question of the Violet Adversary's entire journey. Salvio becomes this final test that will either annihilate the weak or, maybe, force the birth of something greater. So it leaves us with this thought. Does a world drowning in its own long-tiredness, a world that has traded striving for safety, does it require a complete and total reset? Is annihilation sometimes the only path to true creation?